Hi everyone, this is the second modern art video. The modern art is divided as two, before avant-garde and after the avant-garde. In the previous video, we learned before avant-garde, realism, impressionism, and post-impressionism. So if you didn't watch the first modern art video, please watch the modern art 1 video first. In this video, we are going to see after the avant-garde, Fauvism, Expressionism, Cubism, Futurism, Dada, Surrealism, and Idealism. There are many art movements and artists. In this section, there are related artist videos. Please watch them after watch this video for deeply understanding each art movement. Avant-garde was originally a military term referring to the detachment of soldiers that went first into battle. Avant-garde, which is a French term, means newest, latest, and the most advanced art. By the 1880s, younger artists began to refer to themselves as the avant-garde. They were the boldest artists going first into uncharted territory and waiting for others to catch up. Newest and change became artistic ideal. Each generation, even each group, believed that it was their duty to go further than the one before. The first art movement is Fauvism. In 1904, the artists of the Salon de Rome organized a large exhibition of Cézanne, and in 1906, they mounted a major retrospective of Gauguin. But the most notorious exhibit of the Salon de Rome was the one they organized for themselves in 1905. It was then that a critic dubbed them Fauves, wild beast. The artist who emerged as the leader of this wild new trend in painting was Henri Matisse. Matisse was a French artist. He was a draftsman, printmaker, and sculptor, but is known primarily as a painter. Matisse is commonly regarded, along with Pablo Picasso, as one of the artists who best helped to define the revolutionary developments in the visual arts throughout the opening decades of the 20th century, responsible for significant developments in painting and sculpture. So during his 5 years, Matisse often painted landscapes in the south of France during the summer and worked up ideas developed there into larger compositions upon his return to Paris. Joy of Life, the second of his important imaginary compositions, is typical of this. He used a landscape he had painted in Carlever to provide the setting for the idol, but it is also influenced by ideas drawn from Watteau, Pushkin, Japanese woodcuts, Persian miniatures, and 19th century Orientalist images of harems. The scene is made up of independent motifs arranged to form a complete composition. The massive painting and its shocking colors received mixed reviews at the Salon des Independents, and critics noted its new style like broad fields of color and linear figures. And this is Henri Matisse's another painting, The Dance. The final version of The Dance has a very different emotional character. It has been described as forbidding, menacing, tribal, ritualistic, even demonic. Drum beats almost seem to be heard as the simple pleasure of the original if overwhelmed. And the next art movement we are going to see is Expressionism. The Expressionism's fundamental purpose of art was to express their intense feelings toward the world. Expressionism describes any style where the artist's subjective feelings take precedence over objective observation. So I will show you two artists. This is the first artist, Edvard Munch. And Edvard Munch is best known as being a Norwegian-born expressionist painter and printmaker. In the late 20th century, he played a great role in German Expressionism and the art form that later followed, namely because of the strong mental anguish that was displayed in many of the pieces that he created. So Munch recalled that he had been out for a walk at sunset when suddenly the setting sunlight turned the clouds a blood red. He sensed an infinite scream passing through nature. Scholars have located the spot to a fjord overlooking Oslo and have suggested other explanations for the unnaturally orange sky, ranging from the effects of a volcanic eruption to a psychological reaction by Munch to his sister's commitment at a nearby lunatic asylum. And this is the next artist, Vasily Kandinsky. Vasily Kandinsky was one of the pioneers of abstract modern art and exploited the evocative interrelation between color and form to create an aesthetic experience that engaged the sight, sound, and emotions of the public. He believed that total abstraction offered the possibility for profound, transcendental expression, that copying from nature only interfered with this process. And this is another, he is painting with geometric shapes and lines, very rhythmical. And the next art movement we are going to see is Cubism. Cubism is a style of painting and sculpture developed in the early 20th century, characterized chiefly by an emphasis on formal structure, the reduction of natural forms to their geometrical equivalents, and the organization of the planes of a represented object independently of representational requirements. So the most representational artist of Cubism is Pablo Picasso. Pablo Picasso is probably the most important figure of 20th century in terms of art and art movements that occurred over this period. Before the age of 50, the Spanish-born artist had become the most well-known name in modern art with the most distinct style and eye for artistic creation. So this is Pablo Picasso's very aggressive style of Cubism painting. Can you guess what the painting is about? Can you see what the artist painted in this work of art? Pablo Picasso painted a guitarist in this painting. So here, the top part, it's head. And this part is body. And this is the guitar. So the artist simplified all the body parts and reorganized them in this painting. So there is a video about this painting in detail. Please watch the video to see about this painting in detail. So it is a large oil painting created in 1907 by Pablo Picasso. This work, part of the permanent collection of the Museum of Modern Art, MoMA, in New York City, portrays 5 nude female prostitutes in a brothel on Avignon. And each figure is depicted in a disconcerting, confrontational manner, and none is conventionally feminine. The women appear slightly menacing and are rendered with angular and disjointed body shapes. The 3 figures on the left exhibit facial features in an Iberian style of Picasso's native Spain, and while the 2 on the right are shown with African mask-like features, and the racial primitivism evoked in these masks, according to Pablo Picasso, moved him to liberate an utterly original artistic style of compelling, even savage force. On 26 April 1937, the Air Force of Nazi Germany bombed the Basque town of Guernica. The attack are carried out in support of General Franco's nationalist forces. It was one of the worst atrocities of the Spanish Civil War. Picasso responded to the massacre by painting a large anti-war mural Guernica. He also made a number of additional paintings of a figure from the mural, a woman holding her dead child, and Weeping Woman is the last of this series. The figure is based on artist and photographer Dora Maar, who documented the making of Guernica. In 1914, conflict broke out in the Balkan Peninsula. As soon as the result of treaties and alliances, every major power in Europe was drawn into war. Soldiers with their heads full of gallant ideas about battle rushed headlong into the most horrible death imaginable. In 1916, a group of artists waiting out the war in Jurek in neutral Switzerland banded together as a protest art movement called Dada. Dada was anti-art, anti-middle-class society, anti-politicians, anti-good manners, anti-business as usual, anti-all that had brought about the war. In that sense, Dada was a big no. But Dada was also a big yes. Yes to creativity, to life, to silliness, to spontaneity. Marcel Duchamp was a French-American painter, sculptor, chess player, and writer whose work is associated with Cubism, Dada, and conceptual art. The work is widely regarded as modernist classic and had become one of the most famous of its time. Before its first presentation at the 1912 Salon des Indépendants in Paris, it was rejected by the Cubists as being too futurist. The ready-made of Marcel Duchamp are ordinary manufactured objects that the artist selected and modified as an antidote to what he called Rantino art. By simply choosing the object or objects and repositioning or joining, titling, and signing it, the found object become art. And the next art movement we are going to see is Surrealism. Surrealism was formulated in Paris in the 1920s. Like Dada, Surrealism was not a style, but a way of life. Fascinated by the theories of the psychologist Sigmund Freud, who was then setting out his revolutionary ideas in Venice, the Surrealists appreciated the power of dreams, the mysterious of the unconsciousness, and the lure of the bizarre, and the irrational, the incongruous, and the marvelous. So I will show you two surrealism artists. Dali was a Spanish surrealist artist. Dali was a skilled draftsman and best known for the striking and bizarre images in his work. His painterly skills are often attributed to the influence of Renaissance masters. The Persistence of Memory is a 1931 painting by Dali and one of the most recognizable works of surrealism. The iconography may refer to a dream that Dali himself had experienced, and the clocks may symbolize the passing of time as one experiences it in sleep, or the persistence of time in the eyes of the dreamer. The orange clock at the bottom left of the painting is covered in ants. Ants, a common theme in Dali's work, represent decay, particularly when they attack a gold watch and they seem grotesquely organic. And the monstrous, flashy creature draped across the painting center is at once alien and familiar, an approximation of Dali's own face in profile. Its long eyelashes seem disturbingly insect-like or even sexual, as those what may or may not be a tongue oozing from its nose like a fat snail. And the next surrealist artist is René Magritte. René Magritte was a Belgian surrealist artist. He became well known for creating several witty and thought-provoking images, often depicting ordinary subjects in an unusual context. His work is known for challenging observers' preconditions preconditioned perceptions of reality. So this is Rene Magritte's painting. The piece depicts a scene of Raining Men, nearly identical to each other, dressed in dark overcoats and bowler hats, who seem to be either falling down like raindrops, floating up like helium balloons, or just stationed in middle air as no movement or motion is implied. The backdrop features red-roofed buildings and mostly blue, partly cloudy sky, lending credence to the theory that the men are not raining. Many of surrealist interest in mask disguises and what lies beyond or beneath visible surfaces, like this Rene Magritte's painting. Surrealism offered a personal solution to life during the years following the trauma of World War I. But in the view of many artists, society, and possibly even human nature itself had to be transformed so that such a horror would not happen again. That art could play a central role in bringing about a better society was a 19th century idea, yet it found renewed application after World War I in a collective approach. In the art, idealism encourages imagination and attempts to realize a mental conception of beauty, a standard of perfection juxtaposed to aesthetic naturalism and realism. The artists of this title reduced art to essential geometric shapes and primary colors, believing that these were a universal understood visual language. The most famous artist associated with this title was Piet Mondrian. Piet Mondrian is a Dutch painter, and he is known for being one of the pioneers of 20th century abstract art. As he changed his artistic direction from figurative painting to an increasingly abstract style, until he reached a point where his artistic vocabulary was reduced to simple geometric elements. Mondrian's art was highly utopian and was concerned with a search for universal values and aesthetics. As the years progressed, lines began to take precedence over forms in Mondrian's paintings. In the 1930s, he began to use thinner lines and double lines more frequently, punctuated with a few small colors forms, if any at all. Double lines particularly excited Mondrian, for he believed they offered his paintings a new dynamism which he was eager to explore. So there are lots of artists with diverse art movements in 19th and 20th century. There are related artist videos in this section. Please watch them all for your understanding. Bye.